Time is money, friend.
Bitch, you'll be cooking that sound.
Hottest producer around.
Oh yes, hello everybody, my name is Dumisani Theletsane, or you can call me Gaddafi. This is episode number 4, and today I've got the one and only Lance Rothschild. Man, he's been in the industry for over 40 years. He's here with me. This man was, or should I say, the former CEO at Liberty Radio Awards, and he's now the general manager at Classic 1027. Lance.
Hello, thank you very much for having me here.
Yes.
And I've been in the industry a long time. I'm in Badala now.
And you're still marching on, you're not tired.
Never gonna get tired. This industry keeps you young. I don't work. I do what I love.
Yes.
And there's that wonderful saying, I don't know who said it, and I'm not going to attribute it. But if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life.
Yes. By the way, why did Liberty pull out of the Radio Awards?
So, I mean, I'm not really able to speak for Liberty, but
Okay.
it had served their purpose, and they were going through some big marketing changes at the
Yes.
time. They subsequently wanted to come back, but that's a whole nother discussion. I don't think it's for this program. It involves a lot of legal dispute that has been going on for the last 18 months.
Yes. Before we continue or go anywhere when I Lance off shot, can you quickly take me through your journey?
Okay.
From the beginning, in the olden days.
So I always start out my lectures when I do talks at various events and conferences going, hi, my name's Lance Rothschild, I'm a radio addict. Okay? And then I say Confessions of a Radio Addict.
Mm-hmm.
I've always loved radio. As a young boy, I used to make copper aerials,
Yes.
outside aerials, because in those days to listen to LM radio, which was the hit music radio station at the time, you had to listen to it on shortwave, and to improve your signal, I would make aerials for family and friends and my sister's boyfriends and people like that. So always just being tuned into the radio and the music and radio scene. Fast forward a few years, when I was at university, I was at Wits, and I ran the campus radio station. I joined the Voice of Wits.
Yes.
I did a couple of shows. So I was a DJ, not a very good DJ, but a DJ nonetheless. But I became the station manager and ran Voice of Wits at a profit. Left varsity, did a few other jobs, and then 5, as it was then Radio 5, was looking for a station manager.
Okay.
I applied and I got the job. That was December 1986. I took over the management of Radio 5, worked with a very good mentor, boss by the name of P.T. Lotrit.
Mm-hmm.
And we grew 5 substantially. We grew it in 7 years by over 900% in revenue, over 300% in audience numbers. So, it was a good success story. I mean, you've got to look at the radio environment at the time. We did have some weapons in our arsenal that were probably unfair on our competitors, but I can't apologize for having done what I did and doing a good job of it, if I say so myself. We were in 1994 the big station in the country in terms of revenue, not necessarily listenership, but we were one of the biggest. Just over 1 million, or just under 1 million listeners, 991,000 across all spectrums, and the station was a huge success. I mean, it was like to tell everyone it was all because of me, but it wasn't. I had a wealth of talent on my side. I had a great back office team, and then on air was just a superb team as well. I had the best of the best, and in that time, remember, it was before the deregulation of or as I like to say, re-regulation of the radio industry. So there wasn't a lot of competition around. So I could cherry pick the best of the best in the industry.
Yes.
And they would work for me. I had a drawer in my office desk where I had CVs of everyone else on every other radio station, because everyone wanted to work for 5 at that time. So that was, I left 5 in 94. I went into TV. I worked for Mnet. They were looking, it was a project at the time, they were looking to bring in MTV, MTV Africa. It didn't happen through Mnet at the time. I did various things, but always kept involved in touch with the radio industry. In 2008, I started writing a series of radio columns for marketing media, and then got involved with Jeremy Maggs and Richard Lendrum on setting up the first radio awards, which was the MTN Radio Awards.
Yes.
MTN took 2 3-year contracts, so that took us to 2015. And when MTN pulled out, I took a year off from the radio awards. Well, the radio awards took a year off because it didn't have a sponsor either. And I worked at Power 987 as head of programming. A long story behind that, lots of experience, very interesting to build that station. And then in 2016 I left Power, got Liberty to sponsor the radio awards, and they took a 3-year contract, which took us to 2019. Their contract expired in 2019. We discussed various issues around that earlier. So Liberty pulled out of the radio awards in 2019. I then decided my contract had expired with TISO, which is now Arena, and so I decided to launch the Lalela Radio Awards.
Yes, that's right.
That angered the guys at TISO, lots of back and forth in terms of the courts and legal disputes. Then obviously keeping my hand in the radio industry, one of the primary financiers behind the buying of Classic out of Business Rescue is a chap I've known for a very long time, and I got approached by him and some of the other shareholders and asked to come and manage Classic, which is where we are today. So I've been, in fact, as I sit here today, I've been at Classic for exactly 1 year.
General Manager at Classic 27. By the way, this is Lance Rothschild. This is Snoopcheck episode number 4. This man has been in the industry for over 40 years, radio and media industry. Now, Lance, the aim of Liberty Radio Awards was to promote excellence in radio. Those were your words.
Yeah, all my words.
Yes. There have been talks that radio is no longer the same, radio is losing its roots. Do we see excellence in radio?
I think you do. I think you still see pockets of excellence. And in fact, I mean, I've heard this for years. Radio is going to suffer. Radio is going to die. I mean, there was a great, I don't know if you remember, well, it's before you were born probably, but the launch of MTV. There was a song by a group called Buggles, Video Killed the Radio Star. Well, where's MTV today? It's really rubbish with due respect. Compared to radio is stronger, more resilient now than it's ever been. And it's more relevant because it's the last real-time live mass medium. Mass reach medium.
Yes.
Okay. Has a lot of credibility. And in fact, 2020, whilst it's been a harsh year in a whole lot of ways, has been good for the business, for the, not the business so much, the concept of radio. People have spent a lot more time listening, especially lockdowns, working from home.
Yes.
Radio has filled a lot of gaps for them in their lives. It's been their connection with the outside world. It's been very interesting in terms of our contact with our listeners. I get a lot of mail from our listeners, and people just thanking us for being present, being alive and being present in this time. And in fact, international research has shown that radio listenership, in terms of time spent listening, and numbers of listeners has been significantly up to about 38% increase in this time of COVID. So radio is not going anywhere, and it's not going to go anywhere for a long time. Now, there's a reason for it. Okay, people go, but there's all the streaming services, Spotify, Deezer, give me a whole list. I mean, you're a young person, you know more about them than I do even. But the bottom line is what the difference between curating your own content and listening to radio is radio gives you a sense of context of about where you live. It's about, so if I talk about a traffic jam on 11th Avenue, you'll know exactly, in your mind you can see it. Okay. If I say it's cloudy outside, you can look outside and agree. Okay. It gives you that context, and I can say, well, the weather department says that it's going to clear up a little bit later. Your frame of reference, and it gives you context, and it also, whilst you can curate a whole lot of music and have a whole lot of fun doing it, you select a station that curates closest to your personal aspirations, okay? The station to which you aspire to as a brand. And so people still choose radio. And what's happened as well, this is what I've always loved about radio. Radio is the most adaptive medium ever. So many years ago, when TV came out, radio was going to die. No, radio worked very well with TV. And radio has some advantages in terms of its immediacy, low cost of getting content to listeners. TV, if there's an issue, TV has to get cameras out there, reporters and links. Radio, someone out there on the phone or on a line can report. Then came the fax machine. And the fax machine, was never going to be a challenge to radio, but the fax machine radio just absorbed that fax machine and said, brings me closer to my listener.
Yes.
Then came the cell phone. Well, it brought us even closer.
Yes.
Then came text messaging in the forms of SMS, brought us closer. Now you've got social media, Facebook and Instagram and things like WhatsApp, which just keeps increasing the intimacy between a station and its listeners.
And a radio has always been there.
It's always been there, and it probably will still always be there.
Yes. What I'm saying is that it's still in the mixture. We have these social media platforms. Radio is still there. But I got fascinated by this idea of combining PBS and commercial radio station in one or into one category for the radio awards.
Yeah.
Well, where is that?
So
I mean, the formats are different.
We did that at the insistence of various people at the SABC. I was not in support of that.
Okay.
And in fact, what was interesting was this was certain management at the SABC. I'm not going to name names, but certain people in management said, "But we run our stations, we sell commercials. We want, we don't want to be seen as different to commercial stations." I said, "But your mandate is different. You have stuff that you have to do at PBS. The commercial stations aren't bound by, and you're also constrained by budgets and by financial operations, whereas a successful commercial station has no financial limitations." So I said, that's why I would want to separate you. Anyway, at the insistence of these guys, we combined. I got some very irate calls from people within the actual stations. Remember, I told you this was done at a management level.
Yeah.
Operators at the stations. I mean, I had people actually swearing at me and really being upset because they said, "But we're different." And I said, "Exactly. Now, please tell your management that." So I did manage to throw it back at them, and ultimately we broke it out. I mean, I still believe that there are essentially 4 silos of radio, and that's your campus. And what happens at campus is it's a little bit of fun more than anything else, campus radio, and it's a room for experimentation. I ran Voice of Wits, 1981-82. Okay, it was my experience, and we were doing stuff that you couldn't do on commercial radio because we didn't have the same mandate. We didn't have to make a profit, and it was fun. No one was getting paid. There were very few egos. So campus radio is a great place to learn and experiment.
Exactly.
Okay. Then you get community radio, which is also, they serve various purposes. Okay, you've got some very, very well-run community stations. You've also got some community stations that are very poorly run.
Yeah.
But essentially, they fulfill the need of information and entertainment, and where education is required, edutainment within a community, either a community of purpose, geographical community, or whatever. But they're limited by, they're not allowed to make a profit. They're limited by transmitter size or output. So that's your second tier, and it's also a great place for people to learn and experiment. And your community, if they're listening to you, no one wakes up in the morning and says, "I think I'll listen to community radio today," or commercial radio. They go and they listen to my station. In their heart, they own that station. They're emotional stakeholders of the station. So that's how listeners work. But community stations have got a room to serve the community, to learn about the community. Again, a great training platform. Then you have the PBS, the Public Broadcasting Services, and they are all the SABC, shall we say, ALS stations.
Yeah.
Well, not only them, and also obviously SAFM and Addict here. And those stations have a mandate to fulfill. They have to look after aspects of language, of culture, and at the same time educate and entertain.
Yeah.
And that is their mandate, is educate as well. Okay. Entertainment is actually not at the top of the list.
Yes.
Okay. They have a cultural mandate to fulfill. And in fact, I gave a talk at a conference with Ukhozi FM in 2013. And one of the guys asked me about introducing some kasita into the mix. And I said, you can't do that. Your job is to protect the Zulu culture. It's Zulu culture. That's your job. So you can't bring lingo like that. It's not your place. It's not about, I said, you've got to actually preserve the culture for future generations. So that's my take on it. I mean, I'm willing to hear contrarian opinions on it. And then you've got commercial radio. And commercial radio is about making money.
Sure.
Okay, it really is. It's about running a station, getting ears tuned into the station, and then renting those ears out to advertisers. Okay, the fundamentals of what happens inside a radio station, how radio works, is the same throughout any radio station. There's some things that you have to do. You have to make a great product. You have to make something. No one listens to you out of sympathy, except your mom.
Yeah.
Okay, or your dad. Okay, people listen to you because you're fulfilling a need.
Sure.
You're speaking to, ultimately, not even to their heads, but to their hearts.
You are filling the void.
You're fulfilling a purpose for them.
Yes.
And the second you stop doing that, they're gone. Now, I'm going to hold up my hand. Got 5 fingers on the hand. So radio, and this is in all my radio presentations, and a lot of them are available on the internet, and if not, happy to share a lot of my stuff with you. Real time, audio, decision, influencing opportunity. Real time audio, decision, influencing opportunity. What's the first decision people make?
I think they want to make money.
No. They want to switch the radio on or off. The on off switch. Talk about the listener now.
Oh, you're talking about the listener.
Yeah.
Okay.
So listener, it's the on off switch.
Okay.
Second decision, volume control. Third decision, channel. And then they vacillate between volume and control and channel. Where you lose is where they go straight to on off switch, okay? And they switch you off. But listeners are very fickle. It doesn't cost them anything to change channel. So if they're not listening, if you're not providing something, or if you're doing something badly, they're gone. Boom. And that, going back to your earlier question, is the ultimate philosophy of the Radio Awards, is to make sure that we're making content that keeps people compelled and listening.
I love what you said about community radio stations that are purely run. And we will talk about Alex FM later on the show. This is Snoopcheck. We talk about any radio station, any presenter, any station manager without fear or favor. The blunders that you do, we're going to talk about them here, man. This is Snoopcheck. Lance Rothschild. I love this idea that was being introduced at the Radio Awards of Station Manager's Choice Award. This is where a station manager can choose an individual behind the scenes.
I had nothing to do with that. That was after my dispute, and I was out of the Radio Awards, just by the way. I don't want to claim any credit for it, and I'm not going to tell you my opinions on that.
But since then, do we see these team players pulling their socks and raising their hands and say, you know what, I can do this, I'm here, choose me?
So I've always liked we launched the Bright Star Award in about 2011, 2012 Radio Awards, and we grew the Bright Stars. And what's really been interesting for me is to see where people who were made Bright Stars, who acknowledged with a Bright Star achievement, where they've ended up. There have been some of them that have run stations that have gone to really great heights in the industry. Nick Efstathio, who is the managing director of OFM, he's one of our former Bright Stars. There's quite a few that have done. Luazi Sitole, he was running a station in Lesotho. Is all over the place, our Bright Stars. So I think that it's the acknowledgement has taken people to, and hopefully driven them to achieving and staying in the industry and doing bigger and better and more ambitious work.
Yeah, I believe that till this very day, we still have station managers that are conservative. And I'm saying this because, not only station manager, even program managers. I have a show here at BMH Radio. So what I wanted to do was, it's a 2-hour show, was opening my show with a mix, 25 minutes mix, and then go to a guest, and then second hour of the show, open with a mix as well, again, and then go to the guest. We have a conversation. So what I was doing is that I give my guest the entire show. 2-hour show is about them. Campus radio station, like you said earlier on, this is where we try new methods. You should be allowing me to express myself and do what can work for me, the station, and see if the listener likes it. But you don't grant me that. Why is that, Lance?
Well, okay, so I'm not your station manager,
Cool.
but what you are trying to build with a radio station is a brand. Okay. Now I'm going to liken it to something outside of radio for a moment. If you sell KFC, you don't sell beef. Okay? You don't sell pork. You don't sell seafood. You sell KFC.
Yes.
So if your brand is known for being KFC, you don't do anything special that's outside of that brand. And in fact, I used that example when I was running 5FM many, many years ago. Chris Pryor did a really special show, but we were essentially a KFC. We were a big, fast-moving consumer brand. And Chris was a gourmet restaurant in our mix, and it didn't fit. So, because it was dissonant with the rest of the brand. He was doing stuff that, funny enough, we had formatted, we tightened the formatting of the station and made it sound, you knew, whatever time of day you switched on the station, you knew quite rapidly which station you were listening to. And that was important. It had one signature sound and feel. Now with your station, your campus station, look, there is also a need for direction from station management, but there should be room for some experimentation.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that at the end of the day, the person who really gets judged on the listenership, on the appeal of the station, is the station manager. His butt is on the line. I mean, if my station isn't performing right now, I'm one thank you letter away from being fired, as they say in the class.
But why not give me a chance and see if it works? Don't just say no from the get-go. Allow me to do.
Well, I mean, there's several ways. I mean, I think one can make a pilot of it and show how it's going to work. Is the one thing. And also, one has to look at where you're going to place that. I mean, I wouldn't place that on the breakfast show, by way of example. Because it's, that's not what your listeners are looking for. They're looking for a different. But you could place that. I mean, it's like various things that we do. I place some stuff. You've got your core time, your core listening time on commercial radio, which is essentially 6 a.m. to probably 7 p.m. Monday to Friday. That's your core. And anything else I call shoulder time. And so I could place stuff in shoulder time, but I'm not going to put a talk show on my station to fulfill an ego. Okay. Listeners listen to my station. Why? For the music. And so in fact, I jealously guard my 3,600 seconds an hour in terms of not allowing idle talk and nonsense. I've kept the presenters really tight so that we maximize on the musical experience of our listener.
And it was on Friday, and remember on Fridays people want to let loose. So it's all about music. I tried to listen to classic 1027, but the music is not for me.
Not for you. When did you last listen?
I think it was 2 days ago.
What time?
I think it was after I spoke to you. Oh, last week. Last week. I was speaking to you last week, right?
Yeah, we were emailing.
Emailing? Oh, even yesterday.
Yesterday you phoned me.
I phoned you yesterday. Let us talk about Alex FM station manager. Again, I feel like he was thrown in the deep end because he became the station manager at the age of 1921, somewhere there. Alex FM was part of the finalists in the My Station for most loyal listeners. I think it was in 2018. And even before that, they've been getting these nominations, and some of them they've been winning.
Awards,
Yes. There was this time, I think it was on the 9th of November. It was on Monday. Tepo, he's the presenter. He didn't play Popedi. Popedi is a drama. It's compulsory for a client. Apparently, there was a client who bought in the segment to buy into that space, to buy the space. Now, you are sacrificing the drama for money. Drama is compulsory. You don't remove it, whether you like it or not, unless if the president of South Africa is talking or is doing a speech, then you will put aside radio drama. I was not happy with that. I think the competition ran for about a week. Now, it's happened as a presenter, he can't do anything. If the station manager tells you, you know what, at this time, we're going to run a competition or a client has bought in, you can't do anything because you're a presenter. What's worse is that properly actors are not getting paid. We don't know, or they don't know where the money is going to. I don't like that, when I lance. That's incompetent. You are focusing on the money. You don't care about the actors. You don't care about the drama. I mean, most loyal listeners, I mean, these people love the station, and then you do that to them. So, meaning, you don't have respect for your listeners. You don't have respect for the station. You don't care.
And again, I don't know the absolute specifics, but what it sounds like to me in the image of this is that it's someone inflicting their own opinion and doing their own thing.
Yes.
At the expense of the station. Now remember, the other side of it is that drama is probably sponsored. You've got a client opening and closing billboards. So there's a whole commercial rationale behind it. And if failure to deliver is actually breach of contract. Commercial breach of contract. Yes. And the client, other than irritating the client, that's already the one side of it. The other side is listeners make appointments to hear certain things. So, for example, your news is on the hour. If you're running 15 minutes late with your news, that's really bad management.
Yeah, that's bad.
Really bad resource. I mean, at Power, I used to give the guys no more than 60 seconds. The news was allowed to run either 60 seconds early or 60 seconds late. Later than that was grounds for kicking butt. Earlier than that was grounds for kicking butt because it was bad time management. Okay, and my listeners are going at X o'clock. I'm expecting to hear a news bulletin. I expect it delivered then, not tune in at that time and it's gone. Not tune in at that time and have to wait for it. Okay. It's so that's the other side. So what happened at Alex, my assessment of it is that the presenter let their own decision making, whether driven by whatever, make the decision, which ultimately broke the unwritten contract between the station and the listener.
Yes.
Because the listener's expecting the drama.
Yeah.
And now it's not there. Now why? Then they start asking questions. And what can happen, I don't say it did or would, but they then go, well, XYZ, who's the company sponsoring it, has now just dropped us and turns negative perceptions. So there's no excuse for bad behavior by a presenter. Who, listen, we all think we know it all. I mean, I've been in this industry, as you said, a very long time. I learn every single day that I work in radio. I learn stuff. Okay, people say, "Oh, you know so much." I probably do. Instinctively, have learnt a lot. So I've got a lot of, call it legacy knowledge. But every day that I work in radio, I still learn something. And in fact, this year with the COVID crisis, I think we've all learned some very big lessons.
And again, Alex FM is a community radio station, and I would like to believe that community radio stations are being run, or their format is the same as the PBS one.
No.
Or they're not the same?
No, not at all. They don't have necessarily the same predetermined mandate.
Okay.
They are by and large non-profit organizations, or run by non-profit organizations, whether they make a return or not. So you've got a couple of very, very well-run, solid commercial stations, community stations. You've also got community stations that are just terribly amateurish.
But from a listener's perspective, they sound the same.
Not necessarily. I mean, so Alex is pretty close to a metro in a whole lot of ways.
Oh.
I think. I don't know too much. I mean, I haven't listened to Alex for a while. But Alex is it's run. It's a pretty good station. It's run on pretty solid commercial terms, and it's doing quite well financially. Yeah. You take a station like Hot 91.9 here in Johannesburg. 200 watt transmitter, so it's a low power transmitter, low reach, but right into the heartland of the wealthiest audience in the country. In a 12-hour period recently, they raised over 6 million rand for charity. So it's a very, very successful station. Now it's a community station that's serving a geographical community, which is the northern suburbs of Johannesburg.
Okay.
But what they do is they do it very well and they're very popular. It's a great little station.
I've lost my respect for the station manager. And, this is the man who gave me a platform to do my experiential learning. I did my experiential learning at Alex FM. A humble guy. But the way he's running the radio station, I really don't like it.
But okay, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Who is working with him at management level of the station? Does he work alone? Does he have any mentorship? Does he have a madala to turn to?
That's why I was saying that he was thrown in the deep end. I think it's alone.
So that's one of the problems of the South African radio and media industry. Okay, is we've got a lot of stations, a hell of a lot of particularly community stations. We haven't had years and years and years and years of legacy radio experience. A lot of people are learning on the job. Okay, and it's a case of these people like myself, Malcolm Russell, Stan Katz, Kos Radebe, the list is long. I mean, the late Bob Mabena, who all have quite a lot of legacy knowledge, understanding of the business of radio. And we actually, I mean, people go, how to get, I'm one of the easiest people to find in terms of finding my contact details, as are most of the others. And we love talking to and helping young people in radio because we love the radio industry. At the end of the day, radio's been my love all my life. And I love what I do. I'm very blessed in doing what I do. Nothing innovates me more than working with young people and seeing the light of radio switch on in their eyes. Okay, and I can tell you, if Kos Radebe was sitting in the room here or Stan Katz, they would be saying exactly the same. We get a lot of pleasure.
Are you talking about the Lucas Radebe?
No, sorry, I say Lucas. I meant Kos Radebe. Sorry,
yes.
Lucas Radebe is the footballer. He's not really a radio man. But then I'm not much of a footballer either. No, Kos Radebe. I'm sorry if I did say Lucas. It's my error. But Kos Radebe, who I worked with he was the founding station manager of Metro, and he's a retired man with a heck of a lot of knowledge and a good radio brain.
Yeah, just to wrap up from this Alex FM, whatever. Whether Bill Gates is the client and he wants to buy in, he'd rather sponsor the drama, not replace the drama with his money. Let us respect the mandate.
No, respect this. No, let me tell you something about radio. Okay? There's only one customer.
Yeah.
And that's the listener. Everything else is noise. I don't give a damn. If Bill Gates came to me and offered me $10 billion, okay, well, no, hold on, maybe. but in theory, I'm joking. But in theory, if he came and he said, I want you to drop the 7 o'clock news because I want to talk for 15 minutes about Microsoft and I'll pay you a lot of dollars. You know what I'd say to him? I'd love to take your money, but it's not going to work for you, and it's going to do more damage to my brand than what it's worth. Yeah. Because when you throw away a listeners are not stupid, okay? Listeners are really not stupid. They're your friends and your family. And the second that you break that unwritten contract with the listener, when are they going to come back?
Yeah.
You know what I said about real-time audio decision influencing opportunity? The second that they go, I'm not getting what I want from station A, and they go to station B, there's no guarantee that they're going to come back.
True.
There's absolutely zero guarantee. They may come back. It's entirely at their discretion. Remember, it didn't cost them any money to switch.
Yeah.
It's not like, I've prepaid airtime to listen to 5FM, and now if I change to Metro, I'm going to lose that.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's just click.
Yeah.
And it happens with most modern radio sets, touch of a button. My car, touch of a button. I'm good. 18 preset FM stations in my car.
Let us talk about what just happened 3 days ago. Apart from the allegations that were leveled against this man, what would make Craig Maloka resign from his position?
I'm afraid I know too much about it because I was asked to do some work. So very, very well versed on what happened, but I prefer not to comment.
Okay.
Greg, I happen to have a lot of love for Greg as an individual. I wasn't involved in Kaya at all, so I know a lot about it because I've heard a lot and I've been involved on the sidelines. But out of respect for Greg, I'm not going to comment.
And I love Greg Maloka, man. Innovative. I love what he has done for Kaya. I think Kaya is Kaya today, or what it is today, because of Greg Maloka. A lot of respect for the guy. Final question, Mr. Rothschild. What makes radio great?
What makes radio great? Absolute respect for your listener. Okay. Concentrate on who is listening, what they want, and give it to them. And you can't be all things to all people, okay? But knowing more about your audience, and it's really trying to get into the hearts and minds of your listeners. And what happens is people run away; they let their egos run away with them, and they forget that they actually breathe the same air as their listeners. And what's interesting is when people actually align and sync with their listeners, they make great radio. So yes, there's all aspects to the actual business of radio. There's the content, there's the links, there's the music that's selected, there's the way it's rotated. We can go on for hours. I do a 4-hour lecture called Programming, the Art of Noise. Because programming is at the core of it. But it's, why do you program? What are you programming for? You're programming for capturing the attention of listeners. You're trying to make stuff that is so compelling. You probably heard the expression car park radio. I don't know if you know what car park radio is. Car park. So when you arrive at your destination, you're so compelled that you don't want to get out the car. You're listening in the car park. Okay. So to make car park radio is ultimately, I suppose, the objective, and that's what makes great radio. I've heard a lot of bad and I've heard a lot of good. And funny enough, I've been fortunate enough to travel quite extensively, and in the United States there's some great radio stations, but there's also a lot of mediocre stations that wouldn't hold a candle to what we're doing here. My view on the South African market, for what it's worth, is that I think the regulation has been very poorly established in the early days of the IBA and later CASA. I think that this market needs a lot more commercial stations and a lot more commercial competition. I'm not taking away from the community stations, but the allocation of the frequency spectrum should have been done in such a way that there would be more competition.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rothschild.
Lance.
Keep it simple. Thank you. I really appreciate it. You are an institution. You do know that. 40 years.
40 years is, it's only 13 more than Mandela spent on Robben Island. It's like, it's been a life sentence for me. No, I love radio. I absolutely love radio. I'm very blessed. Love the people I work with. And funny enough, if you look at my existing station, we're really aligned as a team. We're a very small, tight-knit team, doing some pretty awesome work if you look at the size of the team. And we're just blessed because we actually love what we do.
I think you are one of the few that didn't study radio. You've got your Thabo Mokwele, team, Mzankel. Those guys, they studied engineering. And look at them today. And
Tim studied law.
He studied law, Tim Zanka. And look at him now. He's into radio. But thank you. That was Lance. That's it from him. This is Snoopcheck. The mistakes that we make on radio, we're listening and we'll talk about them here. This is the platform. My name is Gaddafi. Dumisani Theletsane. Ke ntwana ele fitla kasi lentli ba re ntwana ke kopa rand le shume ke kwetse boss.
Right, thank you.
Sweet.
Thanks, guys.